Pregnant ladies and little kids better get the hell out of the way because I am running. I'm like Forrest Gump, dude. I am running. So the Titanic was the biggest ship on the ocean, but that didn't mean it was unsinkable. Okay. All right.
I want you each to use ombudsman in a sentence next week.
I got one for you. My name is Kevin, the official ombudsman of the Just Press Play podcast. You like apples?
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Just Press Play pod. Joined as always by the two amigos. I got Pops and LJ with me. What's going on, guys?
Woo woo! Not much. What's up?
Man, I'm kind of trying to recover, get back into everyday life. You know, I spent the weekend at Hangout Fest out in Gulf Shores. It was amazing, but ran a little hard, and now it's time to get back into a normal life again. And then now we're back with the guys, so ready to fire up another episode. By the way, I want to let everyone know out there with this podcast, the JPP is brought to you as always by one of our best friends over there, and that's SeatGeek. If you're looking for any tickets to an event or a concert or game, stand-up, anything you're looking for, SeatGeek has the tickets, and they will take the confusion out of your ticket buying experience. Instead of shopping for dozens of sites to try to find the best deal, SeatGeek will do the work for you. They scan all of the interweb for all the best deals to your favorite games, concerts, and shows, and then rank them for you. They'll give you a red dot for bad deals, a yellow dot for that's an okay deal, and then a green dot for, go ahead and buy that ticket up right now. And right now, if you hit the promo code in there, ACAA at checkout, you can receive $20 off your first purchase. So hit that concert up and get the first round of beers. If it's just two, as long as it's not too many beers, the first round can be on the JPP pod. So yeah. SeatGeek License event, we have the tickets. All right, Pops, we got to get into. I haven't got to watch all of the playoffs over the weekend, but the Warriors, part of the finals has now been set. Half the finals are there, and the Warriors advanced. They swept the Blazers, pour one out for Dame Lillard, and then it looked like they just kind of ran out of energy. But now the question is, are the Warriors better without finals MVP Kevin Durant? I'll just let you go.
There's no way you can take arguably the best player in the NBA off a team and it be better. I can't see how that happens. But I will say that it looks like they're back to old Warrior basketball. The ball is moving around the floor. They're not doing isolations to one player. Draymond Green has picked his game up to another level that I have not seen in a while.
That we were like, oh, this guy.
He is back to the glue. He is the glue that holds everything together. And I do think there was a little bit, and I've heard a little talk. I don't think this is an FUKD, anything like that. I didn't realize that was just a 4-letter acronym.
I was going to say, that didn't spell
anyway. Well, I think you can figure out what I'm saying. But some people are suggesting that this is a big middle finger to KD, that, hey, we were good before you got here. We'll be good after you leave, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's that, but I do think it's, hey, we were a good team. We were an amazing team before KD came, and we can still play that way. And I think that you see the ball moving around, like I say, not getting stagnated. And I like it's more fun to watch from a spectator viewpoint because the ball's just flipping around, moving, shots are flying. And so, no, are they better without KD? I don't think so. Are they a different team? Yes. Are they still a really good team? Maybe the best team in the NBA? Yeah, I think they probably
Just
are.
to throw some numbers out here, and these are getting thrown around now, but on the Warriors with and without Durant in the playoffs this year, the Warriors were 7-4 with Durant, and then since Durant has gone down, they have not lost a game. They're
5-0, aren't they?
They beat the Rockets, and then they swept the Blazers. And then to even further lament that, in the last 31 games that the Warriors have played with Curry and without Durant, the team is 30-1. So doing pretty well. And in general, when Curry has played and Durant hasn't played, they're in total overall, they're 33-4. So that's better than their 73-game win pace that they were for the NBA when they broke the record. So I don't think the Warriors are better without Kevin Durant, because I'm with you, Dad. There's no way you take out possibly the best player in the NBA, an all-star finals MVP, maybe the best scorer of all time, and you're better. But it kind of invigorates the rest of that roster where with Kevin Durant, it's like you have Klay Thompson, he's now reduced to a role player, and he's just so much better than that. And then you have Steph Curry.
That's an excellent point.
And then you have Draymond Green, who instead of being this guy who all of a sudden now is initiating offense, because when he shines is when he does that. He sets the pick and he rolls, and then that right after he catches the ball, that next decision he makes, whether it's a lob to the rim or whether it's a toss to the corner to Klay Thompson or him making a dunk or floater. He's so dangerous right there once he comes off the roll.
Or, I've really seen him throw that little oop. He throws that little oop up to Looney or whoever's on that other side.
I love it. And it's what's crazy to me is how fast Draymond Green is up there with some of the smartest players, I think, in the NBA, because there's a time where he'll catch that roll, and as soon as they passed him, he'll turn around. There's no way he's been able to scan like, oh, that's Looney. Here's where I need to throw that ball. He just goes, oh, the way the defense is rotating, I know the lob is there. I'm just going to put it around the rim. And just the big men know it. I think that team starts reading it, and as soon as they read that, oh, it's there, they just get ready for him to toss that lob up. But what it does, what I've loved to see now, and this is what you've talked about, I don't think this is the FU to Kevin Durant at all. But I do think all of a sudden Durant went down and people started going, can they beat the Rockets? How dangerous is the next series without Kevin Durant? And all of a sudden you had Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala. They looked around the room, they're like, didn't we as a core win 73 games? Didn't we win a finals? Didn't we beat LeBron and them? I think we can be okay. Right. And so this is their kind of proving, we're still really good. And then it opens up as far as the fun to watch offense you brought up. And all of a sudden now, I think when you have Kevin Durant, it's an asset to have a guy where if things get stagnant, you can just throw him the ball and say, here, go get us a bucket. And he does it a lot of times, but all of a sudden that means Curry's standing in the corner. Klay Thompson's standing in the corner, where now all of a sudden we're getting that back to that Curry and there's I'll put it in the show notes. There's an awesome video from last night's game where someone kind of clipped an offensive possession and said Steph Curry is, I don't think this is a word, but it was perfect for what he was saying, is defatigable. And it's back to Curry just running all over the place. And as soon as he passed it, he sprints to the corner. And then he actually got an offensive rebound, pass it out to Klay, sprinted to the next corner. That ball's popping all over the place and Klay's running around. And now it makes, when that ball starts popping around and you're trying to recover and guard those guys, now Looney is that much better because no one, you can't guard everyone on the court. And now we're seeing that kind of Popovich Spurs basketball where it's popping all around and you can't guard it. And it's awesome to watch. I can't wait. And I think what this does, I think it might make it a mutual thing. Oh, by the way, I wanted to bring up that Curry in this 4 games that Durant's not playing, I think he scored 37, 36, 35, 37. So he's right back this is back to 2015 MVP Curry where he won a unanimous MVP and he's really good. And I think this brings up the thing where Kevin Durant's not going to leave after this offseason out of spite. I think maybe he looks at Curry and then goes, it's real fun. A three-peat was good. I appreciate winning the championships, but I want to go try to do something really cool somewhere else and try to make my legacy great. And y'all do this awesome thing that y'all have going. Y'all all go get paid, try to win titles, and let's just see what we can do. I think it'll be a mutual parting where it's no hard feelings.
I do too.
Because you hear them after the game.
I do too.
None of them go, we're trying to prove something. They're like, no, we can't wait to get Kevin back. I mean, we can't wait to get the Finals MVP back in our lineup, and he's been an awesome teammate. And I think it's going to be a mutual thing.
I agree with you, Kevin, because he moves. That means Klay gets paid. Now they got some salary cap, that they can give, and Klay needs to get paid. And you're right, Klay has become the player that he was, and he was reduced in his role. So, now you almost made me with some of the things you were saying. Maybe in a way they are a better team because they're just more. They're more who they were. It's a different team. Like I say, I hate to say better, but it's reinvigorated them. And I think that's what you were getting to prove what they can do and what they can be. And the motion offense is so much more there to see, and it's so much more fun to watch. And I think I really kind of like the thought of him going somewhere like New York and getting Kyrie and Anthony Davis or something, and maybe them coming back. And I'd love to see a showdown between KD and his group against this Warrior team. I think that sounds really, really interesting.
Well, and I think to your point, Seth Curry, actually, the other Curry, brought up a fascinating point after the series ended, where he was saying they're harder to guard without Kevin Durant, but they're not better without Kevin Durant. And at first thought, that was like, that didn't make any sense. But what he's saying is, without Durant, like if you remember when LeBron and Kyrie came back from that 3-1 deficit to beat him in the finals, the way they beat him, and if you've ever seen in this Warriors run, the only time they've had trouble is when you make games really, really ugly, less possessions, maybe don't score 100. You keep the game under 100 points, those 90 to 91 games. And when you get them really ugly, now the Warriors need to throw the ball to a guy to score. And Curry's a little smaller. You can kind of, beat him up a little bit. Clay, while he can score at a great rate, he's not just the best ISO guy. So when you have when a game gets really ugly and you have a guy like Kevin Durant, now you can play both styles of basketball. So I don't think they're a better team, and that's what Seth Curry was saying. But all of a sudden, when that ball's popping around and Clay does happen to get 3 threes in a row, and Green hits a 3, and now Quinn Cook made a 3, and there's Stephen Curry out there, now they're unguardable. And so they're not a better team because I think Durant is the second best player in all of basketball right now this year, active player, but they are harder to guard. And I think the NBA is going to be more fun next year if Kevin Durant leaves and this team now gets to, and a shout out to Draymond Green, who the story before the offseason, and we were not that long ago, three or 4 weeks ago, we were thinking Draymond Green looks like it's already on the downturn for him. And the GM, Bob Myers, went to Draymond Green and was like, look, we're going to need you to be old Draymond Green. Like, we're going to need you to get back to your old ways for us to really hit that level again. And Green said, yeah, I know. I have a plan. I'm going to lose 20 pounds and get back to me. And you can tell now he lost some weight, and he gets that rebound off the rim and just starts sprinting down the court as soon as he gets it. And now the break's opened up, and that team on the break, they can do anything once they get on the break. And so I think they're going to come back. They'll probably win the finals again this year. And now they're going to spend the offseason going, all right, Draymond Green's going to want to come in shape, and they're going to want to get back to old Warrior basketball and use that money. Like you said, Klay Thompson needs to get paid, but he doesn't want to leave. Like, I bet it'd be a conundrum for him because he doesn't want to leave Golden State. He wants to stay there, but he also does need to get paid. So Kevin Durant leaves, use that money, pay Klay Thompson, pay Draymond Green, and then go get some role players, get deeper, and let's run this thing back. And hopefully Kevin Durant meets him in the finals. That'd be so cool.
Hey, one other thing on the Warriors before you leave them is that I think Looney has made himself some money. He has turned into a hell of a player, and I think he's smart. He plays. I'm telling you, he's made some money for himself. I don't know if he's going to be on the Warriors, but somewhere that man's made himself some money.
If nothing
really
else, that's where I think Steve Kerr gets it. I think he's smart as a coach, but also what he learned from Phil Jackson, I think, is teaching guys how to really play in their role. And that's where Looney's at right now. He knows exactly what his role is, and he plays it so well. And you're right. He's made himself, I think, a $10 million plus contract a year now. He's going to get paid for 4 years, $40 million. And shout out to him. Go get your money. Win a championship and go get your money. I love it. I do want to pour one out for the Trailblazers, though. I know a lot of people were like, and everyone was saying they could give the Warriors a run for their money. They still did kind of give the Warriors a run for their money. They were up by 10 plus in 3 games in a row and lost them.
They got beat 4-0, Kevin.
But
Come on now.
I think they played a good series and they were good. But I think finally what happened was, to make it as far as they did, they should be proud of their season, because to lose Nurkic, who, if you didn't watch the Trailblazers before that injury, he was their 3rd best player. At times, he was actually their 2nd best player because McCollum was having a down year. And for them to rebound and play so good, they beat the Thunder as an underdog in the first round. I think a lot of people thought the Thunder would win that series. I think me and you said that. They beat them, and then they beat the Nuggets as an underdog. I think most people, me and you, kind of picked the Nuggets, and they 2 games, game 6 and 7, where they had their backs against the wall, and to beat the Nuggets. And they didn't just fold and get crushed by the Warriors by 34 games in a row. Like it was a gentleman's sweep, if you can say that, at 4-0. Like they played tough, and I think they just ran out of gas.
A gentleman's sweep.
I think Lillard just ran out of gas. I think he got banged up, but he looked a little hurt. And the rest of that roster, you just started to finally see Al-Farouq Aminu can't be your 3rd best player and beat the Warriors. Mo Harkless can't be your 3rd. Enes Kanter can't be that important to you, and you beat a Warrior team.
No doubt. I think Denver would have been a better matchup, quite frankly, with Golden State. But anyway, it's the way it worked out. Portland played well. They'll be back and do well. But Golden State is still the class of the NBA, even without the best player in the NBA.
This puts the spotlight now on the next series, and we probably won't talk too much on it because by the time we're recording this as of Tuesday night, so by the time this comes out, I think game 4 and 5 will have been played. So the series could have a whole different outlook. But Kawhi versus Giannis, in game 3, the Raptors finally put Kawhi on Giannis, and Giannis had a tough game. Scored 12.
Made a difference.
12 points.
Made a difference.
And Kawhi stepped up and played big. That was an awesome double overtime game. And that series is going to be fantastic. I think you just got 2 stars who both want to prove they're better, and the teams are good. The home crowds have been awesome. I'm excited to watch that. I think whichever one wins, I don't really think they have a shot at beating the Warriors, but you never know. If Giannis or Kawhi could be the best player on the court, LeBron has shown us if the best player on the court's on your team, you have a shot at least. So
you have a shot, right?
So that's our talking NBA talk for now. Did you guys know, OTAs started up in the NFL? The NFL season, we're getting there. They're showing up.
Heard that.
I noticed something. I noticed something today where if your team's getting talked about at this point, at this juncture in the offseason, it's probably not a good thing.
It's a bad sign.
Yeah. Like I was so happy to know that. Like I turned on Get Up. And I wanted to see what their kind of teasers were, what stories they were going to talk about, and same with First Take. The fact that Jared Jones and the Cowboys didn't get mentioned at all, I was like, that is great news for the Cowboys. Like, you just don't – and there is a little thing where Ezekiel Elliott's going through, I think, something where he may have gotten in an altercation in Las Vegas or something. Apparently, the NFL said they're not worried about it. But it just brought me to I came to the realization, I was like, yeah, if you're talking about Team X right now, usually you're talking about something they're doing wrong. And
it's negative.
That brought me to, I think that I don't know what the teams in New York are doing, but I think they're both trying to like outdo each other as far as just shitting all over themselves, because New York, the Giants did their thing where they're
like Torment, huh? Somebody shitting their pants.
I mean, the Giants, they paid Odell Beckham a ton of money and then traded him, and then they drafted a quarterback really early, and then a lot of people are upset with it. And did you see? There's a picture of them at OTAs, Daniel Jones and Eli Manning, and it's really hard to tell which one is which. And I think the Giants may have just drafted Daniel Jones because he looked like a Manning. They both had their kind of silly looks where their mouths were open and their helmet looked the exact same, and they looked identical. But the Giants are not to be outdone because the Jets came through, and their CEO, Christopher Johnson, decided they had a GM. They let him not only do all of the draft, scout and do all of the draft, then they let him spend the $101 million they had in free agency on Le'Veon Bell and C.J. Mosley and a few other players. And then after he did all that, they decided, okay, now we're firing you and letting someone else run the ship. I don't know what the hell you're doing. Like, what's his name? I think Bill Parcells used to say to be successful, he needed to buy the groceries, do the shopping, and also get to do the cooking too. Like, you got to let one guy do it all. The Jets let Mike McCagnon, who was the GM, go to the grocery store, do all the shopping, and then fired him before they even started cooking. They hadn't even fired up the oven yet. They fired him. And then Adam Gase, who I don't really know how that worked. I don't know if McCagnon hired Adam Gase, but now Gase is just going on basically there's a power struggle between the two. And Gase said that he didn't get to choose any of the draft picks. He didn't actually like the signings they made, which why would you, as the head coach?
Yeah.
You're basically saying, I don't think we should have paid the linebacker that's on my team that you're now locked into for 4 years. I don't think we should have paid Le'Veon Bell, who's on my team for 4 years. So I don't know what the Jets are doing.
That's trouble.
But
boy, you're right. Not to be outdone by the New York Giants. Here come the Jets.
I just there's no telling what's going on there. And then the gift that just keeps on giving is LJ's favorite player in all of the NFL, and that has Ben Roethlisberger, who has been on the apology.
Got to be Big Ben.
He's been on the apology tour all week. Earlier, I think it was Monday morning, he did a TV interview where basically he apologized to Antonio Brown and said that a lot of the comments he made in different interviews, he shouldn't have been bashing teammates. Sounds like I've heard LJ say something similar to that. he said he shouldn't have been so critical of him, and he wishes he could apologize. And then Antonio Brown responded. We don't know for sure if it was a response, but he just had a 2-word tweet that said Two-Face. And then today, as of Tuesday, Antonio Brown was talking to some media after OTAs, and he basically went again and said it's hard to process. He basically said that Antonio Brown has ghosted him ever since. He hasn't talked to him since the last Thursday before the last game. And he said that it seemed good. They hugged and they kind of talked about some things, some issues they had, but everything seemed good. And since he's tried to reach out to apologize to Antonio Brown, and Antonio Brown won't take any calls, won't listen to his apology. So it's kind of weird. But it sounds like Roethlisberger's doing the same kind of behavior that led to their first deteriorated relationship in the first place, where he threw him under the bus, and now he's throwing him under the bus again, saying, I try to apologize, but he won't let me. I'm trying to be bigger, but he won't let me be the bigger man.
I may be biased. It's possible that I'm biased. But, like,
maybe.
What I feel like I'm taking Antonio Brown's side on this, and knowing all that we know is something that I just would not do. So I feel like either I'm biased or Ben Roethlisberger is way wrong about the way that he handles everything in his life. And so,
LJ, that's a good point. I think I'm tending to take AB's side of this, and that should tell you something.
Which is crazy because Antonio.
He's nuts. Antonio Brown is a nut.
Is an idiot.
Good Lord.
Did you see, LJ, you might like this, that a Broncos defensive lineman, Shelby Harris, a couple weeks back was taking credit for the downfall of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, I did
Did you
not.
see this?
Oh, man, I need to get to New Jersey.
Well, so in the final minute of the Broncos' 24-17 win over the Steelers on I think it was November 25th, I think that was what I read. They had an interception where Brown threw a ball, or Roethlisberger got rushed by Shelby Harris and threw an interception.
Yeah.
And one of the players for the Steelers said that, that's where it kind of all started happening, because Ben Roethlisberger may have blamed someone. And then I think the next week he went on the interview and said someone should have ran their route better.
Yep.
And so someone asked Shelby Harris about it, and NFL Network they were like, do you deserve any credit for the Steelers slide? And he said, yeah, you know what? I think I'm the reason this happened. And then he was joking. He was laughing and joking about it. I was like, clearly someone else, I was just doing my part, but it was a big our whole defense deserves credit. But so it's kind of the circle of life, LJ hates Big Ben and the Steelers, and the reason they finally deteriorated was because the Broncos.
Yep.
The Broncos started it.
Yep.
It all comes back.
It all comes back around.
Yep. We can't win a playoff game, but we'll do what we can to ruin my enemies. That's all I care about.
All right. Switching gears here 100%. But there was a recent poll that went on Twitter, and it became a little bit polarizing. And I wanted to ask you guys, I'm just going to throw the question out there, and I'll let you go first, Dad. Do you wash your legs in the shower?
Of course. Yes. Why wouldn't you wash your legs? I wash everything in the shower. I don't have to go body part by body part.
No, I think anatomically, you can just leave it at everything. I think the listeners can make their own mind. They don't need any more visuals.
Let me say, there might be a time when I worked late, got home, went to bed, get up the next morning. I've not done anything. I might, do a little quick wash, but still I hit everything, briefly.
LJ, are you among the same as Dad there as far as wash your legs in the shower?
So you asked the question, and a panic struck over me that I've apparently been doing this wrong my entire life, because here's what I do. Is I wash the important bits and the things that retain stink, and then the soap runs down my leg, and I would think takes care of enough to be fine. I do every now and again I'll give myself a good scrub, but generally I assume that after scrubbing my back and my armpits and all of everything else that the legs are going to be fine. I don't wash my hands every time I'm in the shower. I kind of feel like that gets done automatically, right?
Yeah. So that's why the argument caught ablaze on Twitter, because someone else was like, well, when I wash my whole upper body, soapy water now runs down my legs, and then I rinse my legs off to get the soap off, so they kind of clean. And then other people are like, no. If you don't clean your leg, if you don't actually scrub those bad boys, and they're still dirty. But the devil's advocate was by scrubbing your legs, the more you do that, you're scrubbing minerals away from your body or something, and you're drying out your legs.
Well, that logic means don't take baths at all. Like that's
well. Now, sometimes there's a weekend when things just get a little, busy and
out of hand.
I mean, I have this weekend. Okay, so this weekend we were up at the river. I mean, I took a shower Friday morning, right? Friday morning. And we had guests over that were staying in our guest room where all the towels were. And they went to bed early and slept late. Yeah. So, it was Sunday afternoon before I could take a shower again. And that was it felt good to take a shower. I'll just leave it at that. It felt good on Sunday to take a shower.
All right, Dad. Yeah. So you say you okay, go ahead.
Wait, Kevin, do you watch?
Yeah, well, not every time. It depends kind of what I've been doing. So if I feel like all I did that day was kind of just go to work and maybe watch basketball or something, I'm kind of in LJ's mindset where, my legs probably, as long, I kind of want soap to get on them, but I kind of wash the important areas and assume soap kind of went where they went. But there's also times where, especially over this past weekend when I was in Gulf Shores, I've been at the beach. So I made sure to wash everything because I'm still getting sand out of pockets and somehow sand got in my truck and I didn't even take my truck down there. So I don't know how it happens. But so there's times where I wash more legs than not. But Dad, I have a question. Do you wash the bottom of your feet as well? Like, do you scrub the bottom of your feet?
Good question. Not every time. No.
Okay.
I do figure there's, because I guess there's soap in the bottom of the floor. And let me just go ahead and come clean too. There's probably a place. Listen, there's probably a place. Listen to me. There's probably a place in about the middle of my upper back that may not have been washed ever in my life. So, there's just areas you can't. There's just an area I can't get to, so I try to let the soap run down. But I'm just being honest.
Well, I do think so. Here's maybe a definitive why you should wash your legs more thoroughly, though, and this is, I guess, really shooting at me more than anybody else. Is like, would you accept eating off of a plate that soapy water had run down and then got rinsed off?
I'd rather clean that.
I'd like a little scrubbing. I'd like a little scrubbing to go on that plate. Yeah.
A sponge better hit that bad boy.
Yeah, so, I would like that.
I want a sponge to at least touch that thing.
Well, but think about this. Think about the sponge that you're washing your plates with. That's probably been sitting there above the sink for a month. And it's disgusting and falling apart.
It's awful. Yeah.
It's terrible. So I don't know. Maybe it'd be better just to let the soap hit it. I don't know.
Now, to be fair, I get rid of sponges more than monthly, like every 2 weeks or so.
I try
to wash all my dishes by hand, so I don't even have a dishwasher. So it is a lot more important that my sponge stays relatively not dead.
That's an interesting point that you guys bring up because I too don't have a dishwasher, and I have like one of those brushes, not a sponge, but like a
gross.
Brush that I put some soap on and then I kind of brush everything in. It helps me get in cups, and everything. And I have not bought a new one. Let's just say in a while. And I assume soap's on. I put soap on every time. But it's cleaning dirty dishes.
Kevin, do you replace your toothbrush ever? Do you ever replace your toothbrush?
I think when I was 7, I replaced it.
Oh my God!
No, I'm kidding. I replaced the toothbrush when it starts looking a little rude, because the bristles start going sideways, and you're like, "Oh, this toothbrush looks like it's time to get a new one." I don't, just kind of.
Well, is this weird too? Like your sponge that you use in the kitchen, I'm kind of a big deal. Like, squeeze it out and set it up to dry.
Yes.
Don't leave it in the bottom of the sink with just water in it all the time.
Yeah, because then when you pick it up, like the next morning, it's like cold water, and that just
feels cold. Dirty. It's nasty.
And it smells like it smells rank. It like picks up smells in the kitchen when it's wet. Like, you gotta let it dry out.
Hey, when a sponge starts smelling, it's going in the trash. Period.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's like if ours sits in water for like more than an afternoon, it starts to get a little bit of that mustiness.
It starts to get
that's
it gets that smell kind of like after you like dry off with the towel and don't hang it back up. You just like crumble it up and put it in the floor.
Right, it's that exact smell.
Yeah, I know the smell. Dad, I felt like
What's your address? I need to send you some scrub brushes.
Yeah, no kidding.
That has to have it. I'm literally on Amazon right now. If you give me your address, I'll send you some.
Well, we'll handle this off there. But I do think I need a new brush. Like tomorrow morning. I think I'm going.
No, I know you need a new brush. Yes.
Well, it looks clean. I do. So after I scrub off something, I do try to kind of run it through the water real good and get all the soap out and make sure it's clean. Like there's not just like food particles sitting in there. But yeah, probably time for a new one. Dad, I felt like you brought up something before we started recording, and now it just seems like a very fitting time. But you were going to explain to us how soap works? I mean, it cleans.
Yeah, I was thinking this really would fit into this subject. Well, because soap, if you get a little oil or grease or dirt on your hands, you can rinse your hands under water, and it really does a lot of nothing, because if you think about it, oil and water do not mix, right? If you spill, it floats on top of the water.
That's what
so what happens is soap has the molecule has two different sides, and one end of the soap molecule is attracted to water. That's called hydrophilic. It's attracted to water. The other side of the soap molecule repels water, so it's called hydrophobic. Okay. But interestingly enough, the hydrophobic, and this all has to do with, the protons and electrons, and molecules are attracted to other molecules that have an electron to give, and I got one I need to take, blah, blah, blah. Right. Well, what happens is the hydrophobic end of the soap molecule attaches to the oil. It's attracted, I don't know which one gives or takes the electron, but it attracts itself to the oil. The hydrophilic part repels the oil, because that's just what it does. It repels the oil. And so what happens is let me get this words right. The hydrophobic part of the soap surrounds the oil and makes it in a droplet. And the hydrophilic part of the soap molecule is attracted to the water. So what you have, you wash your hands, and the hydrophobic part gets the oil and attracts it and surrounds it with water. And the hydrophilic repels it. So you've got droplets of oil surrounded in the soap. And when you rinse off the soap, it all goes away down the drain.
Well, that's pretty interesting, because I've never really thought about it. I just know it cleans, but I've never thought about the process. And it's actually interesting you bring this up, because
it's kind of chemistry.
It's interesting you bring this up, because I'm almost like I'm partially there to a nuclear scientist now, because I've been watching Chernobyl on HBO. The new show on there about
is that good? I'm thinking about watching that.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it.
Fantastic.
I just want to wait till the series is done so I can binge it.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend. But yeah, I've watched 2 episodes, about to watch the third, and I consider myself partially on the track to a nuclear physicist. So the fact that you're talking protons and neutrons, right up my alley. You bring up soap, and that gets me. So as I mentioned, I went off this weekend. I went on a little road trip, and I went to Gulf Shores. And have you guys ever thought about what's the most likely item you are to forget before going on a trip somewhere? Do you have something that comes to your mind at all? Or
toothbrush for me seems like.
Yeah. Is that what you think of?
Toothbrush. I also forget to bring my computer charger a lot.
I've seen that. I've actually seen that happen. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you're totally right. I don't forget I was going to say probably a consensus one was going to be charger, but for me, I'm like LJ. There's been multiple trips where I brought my computer, but not the computer charger, and that's just not very smart, because then I can use my computer for a day, and then now I'm like, well, crap. But
sometimes I forget deodorant too, and that's something you cannot go without.
You gotta go to the store.
You got to go buy some. You can brush your teeth with your finger one day. Okay, one day.
You shouldn't, but you can. Yeah,
you should, but you can.
T-shirt once you're done.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, Dad, that's when I get a new toothbrush. Is usually I often
when you go out of town.
Yeah, I go out of town. I'm like, well, crap, I got a new toothbrush. And then when I come back, I'm like, well, I probably haven't bought a new toothbrush in a while. I'll throw this one out. Now I have a new one.
Hey. Come see me. You know what I do? I buy toothbrushes by the gross. Yeah. I'm serious. I have free shout out to Pearl toothbrushes. I get 144 at a time.
What?
Y'all come. Yes. Seriously, I get a gross at a time.
When you said a gross, I thought you meant like, I'm kidding. A gross. Ha ha ha.
No, 12 times 12. A gross.
At a time. At the most.
I get a gross.
You buy 144 toothbrushes.
Oh my God.
Good God. Y'all come to my house and y'all forget a toothbrush, so I have one for y'all.
That's like Oprah with
Jed
toothbrushes. He's just like, you get a toothbrush. You get a toothbrush.
You could seriously provide toothbrushes for half of a year before you ran out to random passerby.
Do you know what we gave Mama and Papa for Christmas? We gave them a bundle of toothbrushes, and they were happy as they could be. They were happy as they could be.
I don't know. I don't know if I've bought 144 Lord. Toothbrushes in my lifetime, and you buy it every time you go to the store.
Well, hey, next time y'all come, just leave your toothbrushes at home. I got you covered.
But
I'm gonna have to borrow a toothbrush to wash my legs. You got plenty.
Maybe I can see if it'll reach that part of my back.
You can use either that or Kevin's scrub brush, which you don't want to use because that'll make it dirtier.
That actually will do the negative effect to your back.
By the way, my order has been placed. You're going to get 2 scrub brushes in the next couple of days. Just throwing that out there.
So you forget most often forget your toothbrush before a trip. It's
Sure.
The same thing. Like, do you often forget things while leaving? Like, so once you're done with your vacation, now you're coming home. Because I think there's one item that I think is often forgot, and it's not the same as the item that's often forgot when heading to the trip.
And you leave it at the vacation spot, is what you're saying?
Yes. Do you have one?
Yes.
LJ, you're nodding your head. What do you got?
My phone charger.
What you got,
I swear to God, I buy a new phone charger with every vacation. It's a fact.
So Dad, LJ forgets.
I'm going to get LJ a gross phone charger.
No, every vacation LJ is fully stocked on new chargers because he forgot his computer charger, has to buy a new one, but then he forgets his phone charger there and has to buy a new one when he gets back. So when he gets back, he's got 2 new chargers.
Yeah, you know how people don't know what it feels like for your pen to run out of ink or your chapstick to run out. I don't know what it feels like for a phone charger to stop working. They're just gone well before that point.
Oh, good God.
See, for me,
what is it, Kevin?
Pillows. I often bring a pillow to the trip, and it's a lot of times to sleep in a car, or I like to bring a pillow just in case, because so we were going to a condo where there was multiple people staying, and there was a bedding situation, and I didn't know for sure if I was going to get a bed, couch, recliner, floor. Honestly, we're going to a music festival where there's going to be a lot of fun to be had, and
you're accepting anything.
Most nights when I come back, I'm just
sleeping is a luxury.
I'm just hoping to get a roof. Like if I can get a roof and a pillow, I'm good. So I bring at least a pillow, so I'm covered there.
You don't bring a roof?
It's easy. I forget my pillows a lot of times. Like I feel like it's so easy to forget it because you just think I never forget my phone charger because that's always first thing when I'm leaving. I'm like, all right, got my charger, got my toothbrush, I got my stuff. I don't think got my pillow, and then I get an hour down the road. And I start thinking, man, all right, I might take a nap. Where's my pillow? Son of a gun. It's sitting right there by the hotel pillow, just sitting there. I always forget pillows. And so you get friends to maybe grab your pillow. I think I got a friend to grab it, but I don't know when I'm going to get it. Because a lot of times, when I come back to Texarkana, I'm staying with them. My first thought's not, oh, hey, let me get my pillow. It's let's go grab a drink or let's go get some dinner. And so I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever see that pillow again. Rest in peace to the pillow I left in Gulf Shores.
I think you're a little knuckle. I mean, that's kind of silly to take a pillow on vacation, I think. For real?
I agree.
I mean,
I go on a lot of vacations where there's multiple people staying in the hotel room, and I don't know if I'm going to get the bed or not. So at least I make sure I got my pillow. I guess
that's bachelor man life, Dad. We don't know anything about that.
Well, I guess not. But LJ, you would think if you don't get a bed, if you're going on vacation with a bunch of people and you don't get a bed, surely they'll spare a pillow. I mean,
just in case they don't, I have my own. Just in case. So what happens?
I've had some 20-something friends before.
See, what happens is that it's not.
You're
it's
happy
not a
for
thing.
A can of Old Milwaukee and a kiss on the forehead. That's all you're getting.
Okay. All right.
See, what happens is that it's not bad friends. Like they don't give you a pillow. What happens is, all of a sudden, everyone's just kind of passed out, and now all the pillows are in use. And it's either go wake someone up to go get a pillow, or go, oh, well, I have my own pillow. I'll just grab a blanket.
Yep.
And there we go. I'm good to roll. I can sleep on this couch, and I slept great. I slept on actually the patio of the place we were staying. It was on the beach. I heard the waves crash in, had a pillow for my head. It was a great sleep. It was a very good sleep.
Yeah. But
I had a pillow. Yeah, but now I don't. I've left that pillow. So
wow.
Got to go to the store and get a brush and a pillow.
I got Christmas present ideas for both of you now. I'm good. Yeah.
Speaking of,
a gross of pillows and a gross of toothbrushes.
You'll have to get the apartment next door upstairs to hold his pillow.
Speaking of toothbrushes, weren't you saying, was there something about you having an issue with things being stuck in your teeth or something? What was this you were bringing up to us?
Yes. I have a little thing. I mean, my teeth are, I've had braces. My teeth are reasonably straight, but there's still a little cracks and crevices that things get caught in, and
no stray hands.
And it was worse before, but yeah, you can get stuff caught in your teeth. So the other day, as I'm wont to do, I come home and I fix me a little sandwich wrap. I've gotten to where I'm trying to cut carbs. So I use these little, low carb wraps and stuff like that. Sure. And I'm a big deal. I like a little mayonnaise, a little lunch meat. And I use pico de gallo. I use pico because it's got a little onions, a little tomatoes, It also happens to have a little thing called cilantro in it, which is kind of a leafy little green vegetable.
What do you call it?
So cilantro?
Yeah.
I usually say cilantro, yeah.
Cilantro.
What do you call the little green peppers that you put in like salsa?
Jalapenos?
Okay. You have some jalapeno.
I don't call them jalapenos. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. All right. You're confusing me. So as I want to do, I come home and I fix my little wrap. I have a little turkey. I'm kind of a fan of the bird, so I'm more into the poultry part. So I put a little turkey on there, a little mayonnaise, a little cheese, a little pico with cilantro on it. So I have my little wrap and I go back to work and I work all afternoon. I come home after work and I go in the bathroom and I look in the mirror and I have got a green piece of cilantro over my whole front right tooth. I mean, over the whole damn thing. I mean, it's like I'm missing a tooth, And I'm telling you, you guys know I keep toothpicks in my truck all the time. I mean, I'm a little bit, what would be the word, anal about checking my teeth after I eat. But obviously, I didn't check it. I mean, I get home at 5:30 in the afternoon, and there's a big piece of cilantro.
All day, this piece of cilantro is sitting there?
All day from lunch on the whole afternoon. Now, my only saving grace was, I believe all I did was work in my office, head down at the computer, working.
I don't think anybody. It was Lyft doing work.
It was Lyft grinding. I don't think anybody saw me, but oh my God, don't you hate when you see someone else with a big piece of cilantro on their teeth? Yeah. I mean, do you tell them? Yes. Do you not? You tell them. You have to tell them. But I was just. Unless it's somebody you don't like or don't know very well.
No, it depends on whether it would embarrass them more or less to know that it's from you. To me, like it's like high schoolers I work with all have like egos, right? And so if like some 30-year-old dude tells them like, "Hey, you got something in your teeth," like I think that might be a little bit more heartbreaking if they were doing nothing else throughout the day. Like if they're going on to another class, like let them know. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, what do you do? Do you whisper? Do you tell some other friend to go say, "Hey, tell Joe he's got crap in his teeth"?
That tends to be a better solution to me. Yeah. But
I try to politely, and I know the listeners can't see this. I try to politely go, like that or something.
He put his finger to his teeth and kind of pointed.
Yeah, I kind of point to my teeth. It's like if you get something on your lip or something, or if you get something hanging in your mouth, I just kind of, when I catch your attention, I'll go kind of like just point to that area. And hopefully you'll get the idea.
You know what? Okay, so that reminds one of the most awkward situations is like sometimes I'll just like scratch my beard or something like that, and then like oh, that felt nice, I'll scratch again, and then someone thinks I'm hinting something at them. They'll like try to wipe their face. It's like no. That's just an awkward situation that comes up a lot. So
I think all in all, I think you should probably try to tell someone. I think I'm with you, Dad. Like if someone's got something stuck in their teeth. Try, and I get what LJ's saying, especially like if I'm a high schooler, I'd rather my friend tell me than my teacher tell me something stuck in my teeth.
Yeah,
I'd rather my homeboy be like, "Hey, get that cilantro out of your teeth."
Hey, if I have cilantro covering one whole tooth
well, see,
in my
that's a different
head,
ball game. Once you get to that point,
I mean,
anybody.
See, they actually
maybe they thought I was missing a tooth.
That's
I don't know.
That's what I think. I think they thought, man, Lifford must have had a weekend. Did he trip and fall and lose a tooth or something? That's
they were wanting to be kind. They were,
and
just
they didn't want to tell
you
you how noticeable it was that you lost that tooth. I mean,
yeah,
because you're just grinning at everybody.
So you get home in the afternoon and you realize that's been on there since lunch. Yep. Oh my God, that was a horrible feeling.
What do you think's the most likely, or the food that gets stuck in your teeth the most? Like, is cilantro number one? What?
I got an answer. I know the answer.
Give me your answer, El.
I mean, popcorn. The little kernels, the little sheets.
Popcorn.
They get stuck in my teeth. Like, I get 2 per times I eat popcorn. So, like, that's insanity compared to every other food in the world.
Broccoli's a pretty bad culprit. You'll get some little
bad. It's bad
pieces in there.
Well, and I like fresh ground pepper sometime, like on a salad or something. And you get some like fresh ground pepper that are big. You can get pepper all in your teeth.
You know, the candies are like some sweets that are terrible for your teeth. You almost feel like you have to brush your teeth after. Butterfingers, they get stuck in every crevice of your teeth.
Yes.
And then Oreo. If you ever eat Oreos, they get stuck in your gums and teeth. Like your teeth get there's black marks. I always feel like I'm self-conscious.
Like your spit,
Cheetos.
Cheetos don't bother me, but like your spit turns black with the Oreos.
Speaking of Cheetos, Dad, if you're eating Cheetos, do you lick your fingers afterward or no?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I'll lick my fingers. If I've been working on the lawnmower or something, I don't. But yeah, I'll sometimes lick my fingers.
Sometimes that's a great part about Cheetos is getting fingers after if you're like at home alone.
This is just a little fact I know that Doritos apparently, and I'll have to look it up and make sure this is true, but I'll put it in the podcast anyway. Apparently, Doritos found out how to make their exact flavor, but without the little granules that get all over your fingers. And they tested it with audiences, and people didn't like it because they see licking their fingers when they eat Doritos as part of the experience, and so they never made them.
Yeah. Yeah, I like part of eating Cheetos is like after you get done, you get to lick your finger. I mean, I don't want to sit there and just like out in front of God and everybody just be like licking my fingers down, but I might like look around if I'm just at my desk, lick my fingers. Then get some German
one other you reminded me of this one potato chip, I guess you would call it, that I used to really like was Funyuns. But if you eat Funyuns, you ain't getting close to anybody anytime soon because your breath be stinking.
Talk about
bad.
Speaking of, we were mentioning road trips earlier. That's if you go to the gas station and you're going to get a snack and you're riding with some other people, don't get Funyuns. Like,
don't get Funyuns. They're terrible.
Yeah, unless
they taste great.
If you do, and if you are going to get Funyuns, get a pack of gum with them too, or something. Get some Tic Tacs.
That's right. Totally agree.
All right, another group that probably doesn't need to get Funyuns, since I don't know if they brush their teeth. We got to get into some Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
All right.
The season finale has wrapped up. Season 8's done. The series is done. It's over. I guess I just kind of want to just go straight to you, Pops. What were your thoughts when the season ended? What were your thoughts?
I don't want to be a hater on the show or anything like that, but I was disappointed.
Go ahead and whinge.
I was less than enthused with the end. I thought the way that I had too much invested in Dany for her to be. I just didn't buy that her character was what they made it to be. I didn't really like her demise, how it happened. I just didn't like that. I didn't like how Grey Worm turned out, and I know he was sad about Missandei and all that. Maybe Jon. What did Jon wind up doing? Did he just went to live with Tormund in the north with the wildlings?
I think he's the leader of the Wall and the king of the free folk, kind of. I think.
Well, you don't need a Night Watch anymore. Yeah, but you don't need a
Mance Raider.
Yeah, so he just went to be in the north. I don't know. There's a lot. Bring up anything in specific, but I didn't. I was less than enthused with the end.
Well, so I have a question about. So why didn't you like what happened with Grey Worm? I actually felt like that was one of the few really believable character arcs in the show. What didn't you like about it?
Well, just like when Jon saw him out there and the guys were on their knees, they had obviously surrendered. And he said, wait, they've surrendered. He goes, no, they're still breathing. So they're still a threat to we got to kill the queen's enemies while they're still breathing. And he's over just slitting throats left and right.
Yeah.
Just whatever. So, yeah, I guess, LJ, I do hear your point, because I did think about it more, and he saw the love of his life, beheaded by Cersei and those people, but it wasn't those guys' fault. I don't know.
But I do think LJ
turned.
And maybe this is kind of what LJ's saying, but I did feel like it was neat, not cool because it kind of sucked to see, but I think it was neat to see how when Grey Worm first started, he was just this mindless soldier. And that's how they created the Unsullied, to just be a mindless killer. And when he met Daenerys and Missandei, they kind of helped him find humanize him,
his
and
human
kind of
side.
Make him realize, like I can feel and make decisions not just by a mindless killer. And then by what he experienced and what went through, he kind of reverted back to his old ways. And I think, like LJ's saying.
Well, and I actually think he never lost it. I think one of the things to keep in mind is that he spent his entire life as a slave and was turned into a psychotic killing machine, to the point that one of the trainings for the Unsullied is they have to go pay a slave owner for a mom's newborn baby and kill that baby in front of the mom. Like, all of his entire training was about becoming a psychopath with no morals or anything like that. And so all of the things that we thought about Grey Worm doing that were good was because he had a good queen to follow. And as soon as his queen turns to not be good anymore, so does he. Why would he skip a beat? He would never, because that's all he's ever done, is done exactly what his queen wanted from him. And then you add in the fury of the one thing that humanized him being gone, then how could you ever expect him to try to do the right thing or the kind thing or the caring thing? He would just, that was one of the few things in the whole
LJ,
last season that I really
that makes
liked
sense
about
what you're
Grey
saying.
Worm
It really
character.
does.
On piggybacking off what Dad said, what were your thoughts about Daenerys' arc and kind of how Dany died in that part of the finale?
So like my thoughts were, I hated how quickly the turn to evil was for her.
It seemed
I
rushed.
feel like there was a lot of character development that could have led to that. And there's also a few things that they could have done. I was actually talking to a writer friend of mine, and he said he could have fixed it with 3 lines. And when they're throwing Missandei's collar into the fire, then if Grey Worm would have said Dracarys, and then Daenerys would have said Dracarys, then I think we would have gotten why that they felt the way that they did. But instead, they just kind of had this moment of like, we're going to miss her, but she's gone. Let's think, like they expressed it as, let's think forward. Let's not think about the losses. And so then we never had this reason to believe that she is the worst. And gonna
what is Dracarys? I'm sorry. What is Dracarys?
That's the word that she used to tell her dragons to shoot fire. It's Valyrian.
Oh, okay, that one.
Fire.
Yeah,
and it's what Missandei said right before. Like they gave her, here's your like Cersei was like, say your last words, and she just said Dracarys.
Right.
Yeah,
and then the other thing is, if that would have happened in the same episode as
person.
Daenerys' turn, that also would have made sense. Now, getting to the things that happened in the last episode, I actually think her ending was the only one that made sense with the wall that they had written themselves into. I think that was like, had they not had Jon kill her, then I don't think I would have been okay with any other ending. I'm not saying I liked it, but I'm just saying that it was the only one that made sense at that point to me from then on. So
she had to die. I think she had to die. But then the dragon not killing Jon, that seemed a little odd.
See, I love that scene where it. Yeah. And maybe I'm giving Weiss and Benioff too much credit, but it seemed like the dragon kind of had a moment where it realized it's not Jon that killed Dany.
It was the chair.
It was her passion for the chair. And so the dragon, and I think this is in the books, and I know they kind of mentioned with the direwolves, but I don't know if they always connected it with dragons. But just the same way the direwolves have a mind connection with the Starks, the dragons have a mind connection. There's a real connection there, and they can almost tell the dragon where to go without saying a word because there's a connection. So I think the dragon knew that Daenerys' goal was to, break the wheel, and the dragon was going, the wheel is this damn chair is what makes everyone crazy.
When you also look at
the dragon kind of carried out what Dany really set to do at the beginning.
You also look at like what this dragon, we have no idea what level of sentience they have and how much like understanding of metaphors they have. Of course, but you have to imagine that if it can recognize that chair means something, which it showed that it did, then it knows that people didn't kill its 2 brothers and its mother, but this chair did. Everything that caused death in Drogon's life was for the pursuit of this particular chair.
Of that chair.
Yeah.
Which he destroyed. Which he totally destroyed.
To make it handicap accessible for Bran the Broken.
Well, yeah. maybe the dragon just knew that Bran didn't need a chair because he already has one. So that could have been.
So Bran has to be the big bad guy, and we're just never going to see the resolution of this because this dude caused basically all of the last season to happen. He made every decision and was all-seeing, and then when they said, would you be king? He was like, well, I wouldn't have come here otherwise. Like, he knew this was going to happen. He was sitting there planning all of this while he was sitting there on Twitter during the Battle of the Long Night. Every decision he made about, like, trying to force there being tension between Jon and Dany, which is directly what led to Dany burning down the entirety of King's Landing, was because of him doing it. And then we're supposed to, like, at the end, I think, like, we as the audience are supposed to be like, oh, well, we got one of the good guys in as the leader. But, like, I think the underlying story is, no, we didn't. No, we didn't. This is way worse than anything. We're just not going to see the story, is what I think the true answer is.
Well, and so that was my thought on the final episode. And so they kind of, like, put it into two parts, it felt like, you know. They had that whole beginning part, and then after Jon killed Dany, it went black. And then
they had a
30 They had that second part where they kind of did the resolution. So I thought the first part was really cool. I mean, as far as where we got, they did rush the final season and things were rushed, but the scene where Dany was preaching to the Unsullied and stuff like that. The scene.
How did Grey Worm get there before Jon did? Like, did Jon go to the convenience store on his way up there? Like, what was that all about? But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the scene where, just visually pleasing, the scene where Dany starts walking up and then Drogon flies behind her, but like the wings spread and the wings go behind her. Like, that made a cool picture scene. It was so neat. And then her preaching to them, and I think that was really cool. And then Jon and Tyrion's conversation with her, where, and I don't know, I read this on, I was kind of fell in a Reddit hole, and it was really cool. One of the Reddit people, and maybe again, they gave Weiss and Benioff too much credit, but Tyrion throwing the Hand of the King thing down. The last time someone threw the Hand of the King thing down was when Ned Stark did it, because King Baratheon told him he ordered him to kill Dany, a young girl who had no army, no dragons, no nothing. And Tyrion threw it down because that same girl burnt down the city. So it was like the circle that it kind of maybe brought together. If that's what they were going for, that's really neat. And then Tyrion and Jon's, that scene where Jon went to go talk to him, the different stuff they talked about, you know, duty and love and them. That was
playing back to Aemon.
Yeah. I mean, there was and Tyrion, Peter Dinklage, he was great throughout this entire series, but that scene just.
Can I say, I turned to Hannah during that scene and I said, Peter Dinklage may be one of the top American actors ever alive, and he'll also only ever be remembered with a British accent. Yeah. Because this is the best role he will maybe ever have, and maybe will ever be written for. Yeah. Someone of his stature, but also just one of the best roles ever written, period. So.
And then when Jon went to go kill Dany, I don't know about you guys, but did you guys think for a second that he was about to just go along with her? Like when he was like, "You're my queen now and always." For a second, they kind of had me.
I got really confused when he pulled his hand down.
Well, he was asking questions. I thought he was not sure what he was going in there to do. And I remember him suggesting mercy for Tyrion, and she wasn't having any of that. And it seemed like he asked her something else. She wasn't having any of that. So I think then he had made up his mind. She's got to go, and I've got to do it. But I do think it was hard for her, because I think he truly loved her on some level. And that's what had to happen. But I think he didn't know when he went in the room that's what he was going to do. Yeah. That was I think he knew. I think Tyrion talked him into this might be a thing, and if she needs to die, and I do think it was right for, like LJ said, Jon to be the one, because I don't know who else actually really can kill her, because the dragon, like when Jon walked up, like Drogon looked at Jon, was like, "Oh no, you're cool. Like let him get the pass." If Arya or someone else comes up there, I don't know if they get just to walk straight up, and then who else is getting that close to Dany and that able to put a knife in her heart like that. I just don't know. And then, so I thought that was fair. I liked the scene, but I just didn't understand. So it went black. And then after that, like they didn't really explain. I guess it was at least weeks after, but we don't know how long it was after they came back.
They said something. I think they said weeks.
Well, they said weeks, but we don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Tyrion and Jon both had a big beard, so it had to be a little while.
The time had passed, certainly.
But then, so they were willing to let the person that decided who was king, basically, was the guy that was sitting there in chains. That was the prisoner, like Tyrion decided.
I had a lot of problems with that scene. But before we get too deep into it, I actually have one major thing I wanted to get to you guys about. Is do you guys still think the Starbucks cup was on purpose?
Well, because the water bottle thing.
There are 2 water bottles in that scene.
Did you see that, Dad?
I did not notice, no.
Well, I only saw it because someone else pointed it out. Someone's really paying attention. But there was like a water bottle behind. Not only did Samuel Tarly think of democracy, but he also invented plastic as well.
Yeah.
There was a little water bottle behind his foot.
There was another one in another shot, too. And I think that pretty well implies that they just miss some things because there's a lot going on a film set. So
because they rushed this final season.
Yeah, well, agreed. But
I think Benioff and Weiss were already getting ready for their writing Star Wars already, and I think they didn't put as much effort into this final season that they put into the first 6, the final 2 seasons, really.
Can we say the first 6, though, they still had book material to go off of? Who knows if they ever would have been – if they would have started this from scratch, I think it would have been this good the whole time. Part of it is they had some of the best source material ever written in, the history of television.
So, literally, yeah. And I'm with LJ. I thought Bran being king, saying Bran had the best story. I mean, I guess he has all the stories because he has everything. But Sansa's story's freaking awesome.
Right, and let's also think
Arya
about
has a pretty cool story.
This dude who was a bastard until he went to the Night's Watch, was murdered, brought back to life, won his castle back for his family, found out that he wasn't a
pretty
bastard.
Damn cool
his
story.
Story's way cooler. I mean, no offense to Bran, he was a guy that got thrown out of a window and then walked 1,000 miles. That's pretty dope. But there's a lot of great stories in Westeros. That he doesn't have just clear out the best one. Ed Muir's story's not bad. Yeah, and then, honestly, Ed Muir, who gets laughed at for even standing up, has a pretty great story. So, whatever.
Yeah, and then like LJ said, to nominate the guy that it does feel like in a way, and they never explained really all of the Three-Eyed Raven, so we really don't know. It almost sounds like Bran's the dickhead that started all this shit because he's the one who said Jon needs to make sure to tell her about the Targaryens when I would think that he knew what was going to happen, right?
There's also a pretty good sign that the Three-Eyed Raven before Bran was the one that caused the Mad King to go crazy. Yeah. Because there's a pretty large theory that he was essentially Hodored by the first Three-Eyed Raven who told him to burn them all. And so then he lost his mind. So the Three-Eyed Raven started, in theory, if that's correct, every problem in all of Westeros. None of this would be a problem were it not for the Three-Eyed Raven. So, and
then Sansa wanted to. It was kind of neat, but also it made me think. So Sansa wants to remain independent. She was like, the North wants to be independent. But why did I would think as soon as she said that, and it seemed like they were fine with it. I would have think at least one other person would go, oh, you know what? I would like the Iron. The Ironborn always wanted to be independent, and they're just they're not even going to think about it.
Yara fought in this war with one condition, and that was that the Iron Islands could be independent at the end of the war with Daenerys.
You're right.
Then as soon as Daenerys is dead, she's just like, oh, no, never mind. Don't worry about that. It's not a big deal. I didn't really care. And then the other thing is if any nation has ever not been a dependent part, it's Dorne. Their sigil of the Martells is unbowed, unbent, unbroken for the one reason that they never knelt to King Aegon like everybody else in the world did. And they've always held off that they're not actually a part of the Westeros nation, but they're their own little thing that just happens to play nice with them. And so Sansa says this, and neither of those two parties say, yeah, no, I'm out too. That sounds way better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So there was flaws I had with how, and I think the reason but I really wasn't upset right after because I knew personally, I felt like the way this whole last season was rushed, there just was going to be things they couldn't completely, tie up.
They couldn't resolve. Before. They just couldn't. Yeah, right.
And so I already was ready for that. But all in all, will this final season, final 2 seasons or final season and the finale, how will it impact how you think of the show as a whole, El?
Oh, it definitely affects how I think of the show. I mean, it also definitely affects how I think of the book. It, for one, shows me honestly how great of an author George R. R. Martin actually is and how great of a world creator he is. It really changed my perspective. I always thought he was good, but not Tolkien good. But seeing how his works just cannot be adapted until he's told you what to do, man, that's impressive. And then it also, I'm not going to watch if this season was different, I think I would have watched the whole series again probably in 6 months when I got the itch. But now I don't think I'm going to get the itch. Like, I feel like the ending was so unsatisfying that that's what it is.
Bad?
I would agree with LJ, and what I was thinking of when he said that is the last season of Breaking Bad was tremendously better than the last season of Game of Thrones. Now, when you start talking about, and Breaking Bad was incredible. I mean, it was one of the best things I've ever seen. But I would put season 1 through 5 or 6 of Game of Thrones against anything. But that lends to what you're saying, LJ, and that who wrote that. They were going off of George Martin. So the last season was a little downer to me. And it probably, I'm like you, I rewatched the whole thing to get ready for this season. And I doubt I'll rewatch it. I don't know. I might sometime down the road because it was a fantastic thing. But yeah, it left something to be desired.
I'll definitely watch Lonesome Dove, The Wire, and Breaking Bad before I watch Game of Thrones again. Just a fact.
You go. There you go.
All in all, I'm still Game of Thrones is probably still a Mount Rushmore show for me. I still loved it. But it was up there with maybe, like y'all were saying, maybe being my favorite show of all time. And I'll go back and rewatch The Wire probably before I go back and rewatch Game of Thrones. And that's probably because, like y'all said, even as how great the first 5 to 6 seasons are, knowing how I know it's going to turn out, I don't know. It will impact it, but it's still a really cool show. Some of the things they did in this final season, even if the plot wasn't always great, like the special effects that they were able to pull out and how amazing those old buildings and old ruins look like. I mean, there were some things that the people that created this show in this final season,
the designers are all geniuses.
The way they had a freaking dragon fly around and look
well. And I want to say
too,
we really dumped on the show for the way that they dealt with Ghost in 2 episodes ago, and I still think fairly so. But we also pulled out and made fun of a quote, if I remember correctly, about how he does some really cool stuff. And we were like, what stupid assholes would think that this was the cool way to end Ghost's story. And then they had the reunion where he actually went and head-to-head pet Ghost, and it felt like it was really sweet. So I feel bad for making so much fun of the way that they handled Ghost, even though it was still poor. It was. And
Ghost was missing an ear, wasn't he? Wasn't Ghost missing an ear? I thought that was pretty. Yeah, I thought that was cool the way they ended that.
There was some rumors that possibly they went back and reshot that, like Kit Harington went back and reshot that afterward.
Honestly,
after all the backlash, I don't know if that has any truth to it.
I think that the fact that one of the directors came out and said Ghost does some really cool stuff this season tells me that he's either the stupidest person alive, which I think would be really hard to direct such a good show for so many years, or we just didn't know the whole story yet. So I tend to believe that he was actually, they didn't re-edit that because it was what they shot in the first place, but I could be wrong.
I do too. I would leave.
So was that guy, that director, the quote that we kind of made fun of about we didn't have enough CGI to have him pet Ghost for a send-off. We thought it was a proper send-off. Was he just throwing us like off the scent?
Yeah, he was throwing you a curveball.
Well, maybe it was the cost of that episode too. And that's one of the things I think Hannah and I can't remember which scene it was, but Hannah and I were talking about if the CGI budget for petting Ghost in that one scene went all to making the dragon wings behind Daenerys in that other scene that you mentioned earlier, Kevin, then I'm okay with that trade-off. That was a fair trade-off for me. So,
Oh no, show was really good, but I think even there's a thread on Twitter where they just compiled all the different actors and actresses talking about it and how connected they got to these characters, and to see how it kind of ended so quick and abruptly. You could tell it left a poor taste in some of their mouths as well. Yeah. But the final season and final episode for a lot of things is kind of disappointing because it's hard. Something we love so much and we build up so much. It's hard to please everybody. And I understand that. Now it's just gone. But all in all, the show is awesome. Yeah. And if nothing else, that they created a ton of content for a ton of other people, because we talked about it every week for this past season, and there's the Ringer built out a whole section of their company is for Game of Thrones, and they're like we talked about with Reddit. There's some awesome there's podcasts built. I don't know what there's a few podcasts. I don't know what they're supposed to do now. They were a Game of Thrones podcast.
They were Game of Thrones. Period. Yeah,
well,
I don't know
what they'll start talking about.
I don't know how that happens now.
The question is, so now. I heard George R. R. Martin say that there's 5 prequels that have been optioned, so they're going to make a pilot for and see which of them look good. And then he's also still got 2 books to write minimum, plus his other tertiary books. Like there's the world of Song of Ice and Fire is still very rich. So I think these podcasts will still be fine. And I think like the Ringer will still be fine because people will still be interested. When the next book comes out, I guarantee you that the next book sells better than the previous 3 books did. So
I'm ready to read the books, I think. I really want to go back and read the books. And hell, by the time I finish, maybe George R. R. Martin's got a new book for me to finish.
I will tell you, as someone who's lived a little bit of that, don't get your hopes up.
Well, I think there's a lot of people out there that'll tell you don't get your hopes up because they've been waiting, I think it's been like 8 or 9 years since the last book.
And George Martin's getting a little long in the tooth, isn't he? I mean, he's getting up there a little bit. If he's going to write a book, he needs to do it.
Of projects. He's got 5 prequels he's working on, plus another HBO show that's unrelated altogether. Plus, they just announced today that him and I don't know if you guys know Miyazaki, who's one of the greatest Japanese movie makers of all time. They're making an open world video game together. So he's a busy man. He might not ever finish those books.
And also he's a Giants fan, so that's taking years off his life as well. So
there you go.
We should have known.
1-1 is named after Phil Simms.
Really?
What?
Yeah, 1-1 is named after Phil Simms,
the big giant.
Well, how do you mean?
1-1, 11.
Well, because his number is 11. And George R. R. Martin, as a Giants fan, has always loved Phil Simms, so he named a giant after him. He's also, in the books, there's a character named, I think, like Bill Bellick or something like that, who's like this like scrappy guy that like finds success even though he doesn't deserve it. It's not Bill Bellick because that's too close to the Ravens, but it's something like Bill Belichick. And he gets too much success too quickly, and then I think he gets like eaten by crows or something like that. Like he dies a very miserable death. So.
Well, what was the deal with we talked about it briefly, the head of the Golden Company, Harry Johnson
Strickland.
Or whatever the hell his name. I mean,
Harry Strickland. Yeah.
Where did that name come from? I mean, that does not fit with any of the names in the whole damn thing.
I'm pretty sure that's not a name in the books either. I don't know where that came from.
Harry Strickland? I mean, what the hell?
That's it. Yeah, that's the most American name I've heard in a fantasy series ever.
I wonder what happened. So right before the season, I guess we should have known that Bran was going to be the king because right before the season, I think Vegas put him at minus 400 odds to sit on the Iron Throne. Yeah. But I wonder, will the fans actually get paid for that? Because he's not going to sit on the Iron Throne because the Iron Throne is no longer there. Yeah. I don't know how that works. We might need to.
Sure they still get paid.
I think it's figurative. Yes, he sits on the Iron Throne. You got to win that bet.
It was good of Danny to burn down the whole city to build ramps instead of staircases everywhere too.
It wasn't armchair. I mean, it wasn't wheelchair accessible before. So now we can build it back.
One other just tiny complaint. There's no way that ink didn't smudge when Brienne was writing in the book.
I know. Right? I thought about that too. It's a fountain pen. There's no way. You got to leave that open.
She has to blow on it and give it a second. Like this is not.
Should it not have pissed Bran off a little bit? So he's about to get called the king, and the best nickname they could give the king is Bran the Broken.
Yeah,
no, I
kind of is a shitty nickname.
He also in the books he calls himself Broken a lot.
Oh, okay. Well, and then of all people, his sister, as soon as they were like, Bran could be king, and then his sister's like, well, his junk doesn't really work, or he's not going to have a kid or anything. So it's like, dude, Sansa, chill.
Chill. Well, we were talking about how those two groups also should have backed out when the North did, but also everybody, when the North gets their guy in charge of everybody, it's like, no, even we don't want to be there. Like, I'm pretty sure that if I'm like a Riverland citizen, I'm not cool with it either. Like, that sounds a pretty bad deal to me.
Before we head out for this week on this podcast, we haven't done a what we're listening to for a while because we've been in with Game of Thrones, and I don't have a big spiel for you, but I do have one. As I was at the Hangout Festival this week, I just kind of stumbled upon this band that really there wasn't a ton of people around, but they were just jamming, and they go by the name Red Gold Green, but they spell it RDGLDGRN. So it's kind of like they shorten each one. And so,
that does sound familiar.
You might have heard of them, LJ, because I listened to them and thought while they were playing, they were just jamming. And then I looked them up. They have a Tiny Desk concert too, and the Tiny Desk concert is really cool.
Noted.
And so that's what we're listening. It's a weird it's almost like an indie rock, but mixed with a little bit of like hip hop too, because they're just a cool band. And it also was a a weird group of people. Like they just didn't look like, you wouldn't think with walking down the street, you wouldn't think those guys are all friends.
Into it.
And they made a really cool band, and they're cool. So that's what we're listening to. I don't know if y'all guys had anything, because we didn't talk about this before, but LJ, do you have one?
I'll throw out
this week?
A couple things. So first off, I've been in a search to find my next HBO show. And while you guys have still got HBO Prime or HBO Now or HBO Go or whatever, fans, watch Sharp Objects because it's worth your time. It's really well sound designed. The theme changes every week. And also, like, it's true detective good. And the book that it's based on was written by the same author that wrote Gone Girl. I mean, it's worth watching. It is so good. And then for
Sharp Objects,
yes. And then for actual music, I'm going to throw back to, I think, our first what we're listening to. I have been listening, Kevin, to Run the Jewels 3 nonstop for days now.
Hey!
So, yeah.
They're good. Good stuff. Killer Mike, baby.
Yep. So,
Pops, do you have anybody? I know we kind of sprung this on you. Do you have anyone this week?
Yeah, you did. But since you brought it up, we were out playing cards at the river this weekend. It was raining, so we sat under the deck and played our new golf game that we talked about, LJ, that we've learned to gamble at so well. And Marla, Randy's mom, wanted to hear some Doobie Brothers. So we played some Doobie Brothers, and that was good. Listen to the music, Blackwater.
Yeah.
Really good. Just put on the Doobies and
fantastic.
Had a good time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll wrap us up for another week of the Just Press Play pod. As always, make sure you, if you're not already, subscribe and download and list our episodes. And if you have any comments for us, you can hit us up on Facebook or Twitter, or you can hit us up on our website at justpressplaypod.com. There we post every single episode, and then we have show notes for episodes. If you ever want to kind of reference back to something we talk about, there's a good chance there might be a video.
There's always a video.
Or a Tiny Desk concert. You never know what you can find on there. So just let us know what you think, and we'll catch you again next week for another episode. Peace out.
Peace.